Welcome back to the online sessions on embedded systems. And we are continuing with our discussion for doing programs in 807 microcontroller. Okay. So while doing programs, we have done in the previous session with arithmetic operators. And now we'll try to do with some of the programs with our logical instructions. So there are logical instructions known as AND operation, XOR operation, OR operation. All these are logical instructions that we are going to have. So that means these logical instructions perform the Boolean operations on bytes of data on a bit by bit basis. Now, what is important here is the 807 microcontroller is normally going to perform logical operations on a bit by bit basis. They are going to be a byte oriented operations, and these operations are performed on a bit by bit basis. Say for example, A is going to have this particular binary format, this 00110101. This is represented in binary form. Therefore, I write here as B. An instruction given here is going to be the AND instruction. Now, let us suppose the instruction we use here as AND space A comma this particular direct data. Okay, the immediate data. So this is an immediate data we normally going to use. Now, when you perform AND operation of these two, what is that we're going to have? Now, in whichever bit positions you're going to have 1 1, then only you're going to have 1. See here, the fourth bit is 1, here fourth bit is 1. So therefore it is 1 multiplied with 1 is going to be 1 here. All rest of the bits, because these three are zeros, therefore these are going to become zeros. Then next, 3 bits are 0 here in this, in B side, 3 bits, sorry. In B side, how many bits are there? 2 zeros. So therefore 0 into 0, 0 into 0, 0. This is going to be 0, 0 into 1, 0, and it is going to be 1 into 1, it's going to be 1. So therefore the bit patterns that we normally going to get as a result of the AND operation is going to be like this: 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. That means it is going to be simply 1 1 in the case of hexadecimal we are going to get. So like this particular logical operation known as AND operation is going to support various types of the addressing modes. See here, this is an indirect addressing mode. At the rate operator is indirect addressing mode. R6 is being used, means what it is called direct addressing mode. So R6 has been used. It is going to be memory addressing mode, and it is going to be direct addressing mode where 55H is used, direct addressing mode, and this is immediate addressing mode. Okay, so these are the various addressing modes which we can use. Then the last one, if you see carefully, hash 33 means what? 33 is directly taken as a data, and this data is simply used in the operation called AND operation with the contents of the accumulator. And this is going to be what? 55H. This is called direct addressing mode. So whatever this 55H is pointing to, in that memory location there is some data. Now that data is being taken and performed an operation of AND with the contents of the accumulator, and result is stored in the accumulator. What about this instruction? This is called uh, indirect addressing mode instruction, where R0 is going to contain the address where there is some data. So that data has to be used for AND operation here. So for that we use value at address operator called at the rate operator. So this at the rate operator is known as value at address operator. So value at the address contained in R0 is being used in the operation of the logical AND with the contents of the accumulator, and results are stored in the accumulator. So this is how we normally going to have the contents, something like this. Okay. So like this, we normally use the various addressing modes like this. And another addressing mode is going to be something like XOR operation. So XOR can be done with the external memory locations also. So therefore, the logical operation can be performed on any byte internal memory without going through the accumulator. So all these operations we have experimented by using the accumulator. So without accumulator also we can able to perform the operations like XOR operation. So XOR operation, how we are doing now? Simply 8 bits in port 1. If you use port 1, P1 means what? Port 1 has been used. So every bit in the port 1 will be read, and all these bits are simply exclusive ORed with this FFH, and result is once again written back to the port 1. So port 1 is simply taken here as output port, where all these bits are simply taken into the port 1. So this is what some of the logical AND operations and XOR operations. Similarly, we have seen in the last session about the rotate accumulator left with carry, rotate accumulator right with carry. So how this instruction is simply going to get, is going to say, for example, when I use rotate accumulator with carry, how it will be done now? The MSB bit of the accumulator will go into the carry flag, and whatever there in the carry flag, that will be simply going into the MSB, and all the bits which are there like that will be shifted towards the left. Similarly with carry towards the right. If we use an instruction called swap A, the lower order and higher order nibbles of the accumulator register are simply going to get exchanged by the use of the swap instruction. Similarly, you're going to have the rotate accumulator right without carry. Okay, so this is without carry bit. That means the contents of MSB will be simply moved on to the LSB, and the LSB will be simply moved on to the first bit position. First bit position will move on to second bit position. Like that, all the bits are simply going to get moved one bit. So like that, rotate accumulator right, left, both of them are going to execute in the similar manner. So let us try to go with a simple program, small program. Nobody will ask us about how many machine cycles, byte cycles it is going to take. Why? Because we have only a simple programming part in the syllabus. So that is why we are dealing with these simple programs. So let us take an example of write an instruction sequence to reverse the bits in the accumulator. That means reverse of a string. Similar program we have written in the case of C programming language called reverse of a string. Okay. So reverse of a string kind of a program here we are doing in a assembly code using 8051 microcontroller. So I want to reverse the bits. Now in accumulator is going to be a 8 bit in 8051. Therefore, I am simply loading the count 8 into the some register called R7. R7 is the internal register. So this 8 is stored in internal register R. Now 8 is nothing but the counter. That means how many times I have to take the each and every bit. See, usually if at all I wanted to take out each and every bit, I have to use the rotate instruction. Okay, I have to use the rotate instruction to normally going to know about each and every bit in the accumulator. Therefore, I'm using this. Therefore, I'm using here rotate accumulator right, rotate accumulator left instructions to do this program. Let us see how this program is written over here. First of all, for counter purpose, I am putting 8 into R7 register. Then I am writing an instruction called rotate accumulator left with carry. That means the contents of the accumulator are normally going to move towards left by 1 bit, such that the MSB will go to the carry flag and carry flag content will go into the MSB. Like that, the bits have been simply moved. That means, what is the result at the end of this RLCA? The contents of accumulator are normally going to move 1 bit towards left. All the bits are simply going to get shifted towards left by 1 bit. Then next, I am going to exchange the contents of accumulator with B. That means B normally now contains the shifted bits of A, which are been left shifted by 1 bit. So like this, how many shifts I have to do? Now one shift has been done. Like this, I have to perform still 7 more shifts to get the complete reverse of a number. Reverse of a binary number, of course, we are dealing with. Once again, what I will do after exchanging now? So what I will be doing after exchanging now is that once again rotate accumulator right with carry. So accumulator contents have been left shifted. Now once again I am right shifting. So once if I right shift, what will happen now? Once again the accumulator contents are normally going to be equal to Same. That means rotate. I have rotated accumulator towards left here with carry. I have stored this result in the register B. Then next time once again rotating the accumulator right with carry. Then next once again I'm exchanging. That means what? Again accumulator is normally going to get its same contents. Okay, so that means what? Now at the end of the day result, what is the result I'll be having now? Now the accumulator A is normally having one shifted bit positions. Once again, accumulator has simply come into the original position. That means this B is taken as a temporary register for swapping purpose. Okay. Then next here we have to use a instruction called, we are using a jump instruction with decrement jump on no zero, decrement R7. How this instruction is executed? Decrement R7 content. Earlier R7 was 8, it becomes 7. Jump if non-zero. Now the 7 is 0, 7 is not 0, therefore jump if non-zero to the loop. So where is the loop here? Now here I got a loop instruction. Simply the control goes back to the loop instruction, and once again the instructions are going to get executed. That means until R7 becomes 0, you will be in this particular loop. That means this loop will be simply repeated for 7 times, or this set of instructions are simply executed for 8 times. So once after that R7 becomes equal to 0. If R7 becomes 0, the condition is what? Jump if only not 0. So once this R7 content becomes 0, the control comes out of this, and the result is simply once again stored in the accumulator A. So this is how the accumulator contents are simply been reversed. So this is what the program which we normally use to exchange, or to reverse the contents by using the exchange instruction. So here I am using instruction called exchange. XCH is called exchange. It exchanges the contents of A with B. That is what the instruction using which we have performed the reverse of the string bits. Okay. Similarly, I'm going to have the move instruction. Move instruction, what is the syntax of this? So move space destination and source. With this instruction, what happens? The contents of source will be simply moved onto the destination part. Then next you're going to have push instruction, you're going to have the pop instruction. Now we know already how we discussed already how push is going to get implemented, pop is going to get implemented. So pushing instruction after executing, what it happens? Pushing increments the stack pointer before writing the data. So pushing means what? The control should move to the next instruction. Follow, that means pushing. After pushing, we say some address, location, or a pointer, or contents of a register which where the control need to move. So before that, what happens? It increments stack pointer before writing the data to it. So pushing and popping is something like a subroutine call instructions. Okay. So explicitly we are doing, we are explicitly pushing the data onto the stack pointer register pointed by the uh, controller. So for example, if I say push accumulator, the contents of the accumulator will be simply pushed into the location after the stack pointer has been incremented. So first of all, pushing increments the stack pointer. So if the stack pointer is having the address 07H and A is going to contain 57H, what happens to this? Pushing increments the stack pointer. First of all, what this push instruction will do, it increments the stack pointer by 1. That means it becomes 08H. Then after that what happens? Pushing increment stack pointer by 1 before writing the data. So after it increments, then whatever the contents of accumulator are simply pushed onto the stack. That is how this push instruction is simply been implemented or simply been executed. Okay. So like that, push instruction is executed here. Okay. Now next instructions, let us look into the next instructions now. Let us take another example of interacting with the external memory location. So this using push instruction, we are interacting with internal memory locations using stack pointer registers. Say for example, I want to use the external memory. So you have a EA bar pin. Using EA bar pin, we can connect the microcontroller to the external memory locations. So using that pin, we can normally connect the 8051 microcontroller to the external memory. So in that case, how we transfer data from such external memory into the microcontroller is the point of discussion where we normally use these instructions. So here there are going to be data transfer instructions that move data between internal and external memory, which are going to use the indirect addressing mode. So these are going to use the indirect addressing mode. The address could be 1 byte or 2 bytes. So whenever we are going to address external memory, the address of the memory could be 1 byte address or 2 byte addresses. 16-bit addresses uses all port 2 for higher order bytes, and this port cannot be used for the transferring of IO. It only port is normally used for addressing mode. Okay, so especially, so if you wanted to address all 16 bits to be placed onto the address bus, then port is normally used. 8-bit addresses allows access to small external memories, which is going to have a 8-bit data. That means 2 power 8 memory locations, means 128 to minus 128 plus 127 locations can be addressed by using 8-bit address lines. So this move capital X, move X is used for external data transfer. So X stands for external. So whenever we want to move the data from the external memory location, we have to use this move X. If you don't use move X, what the 8051 my assembler is going to consider, that instruction is to move the data from the internal register zone, not with the external memory locations. If you use move instruction with X, it is understood that the data has to be moved from the external memory locations. So let us take a small program, read the content of external RAM locations. 1010F4H is a 16-bit external memory. 10F5H is another 16-bit address of the memory location. And in these memory locations, we normally going to have the data, for example. So read the contents of external RAM locations specified here and place the values in charger in this location into the registers R6 and say R7 respectively. So this is the program we have. So first of all, what should I do now? I'll bring all this. Now I'll store this address into the DPTR register. What is DPTR? Data pointer register, which is nothing but a pointer register to store the 16-bit data. So directly I am simply moving the 16-bit data into the DPTR, where I have used only move instruction. It means what? DPTR is internal register and this is immediate addressing mode. When I use hash, it becomes immediate addressing mode. Next, after this, what I am doing now, this DPTR is now containing the address of the memory location where data is there. Now I want to shift or transfer the data pointed by DPTR into the accumulator. So for this I am using MoveX. This MoveX indicates that I want to move data from the external memory location pointed by the DPTR pointer. So I'm using a indirect addressing mode as @DP. That means value at address pointed by DPTR is simply copied, moved into the accumulator. So after accumulator contains this, I move this data into R6. After I move this R6, now this data has come into R6. Then I should go with R7. Now I increment DPTR by one location because this is only just this one, incremented by one. So I increment DPTR by one. Then once again I use the same instruction, MoveX a comma @DPTR. So value at the address contained in 10010F5 is simply moved into accumulator A, and the contents of this is simply transferred to R7 register. So by this, what happens now? The contents of this memory location and this memory location are transferred into R6 and R7 memory locations. So this is the program which is normally going to uh, tell us on how to transfer data from the external memory location. Now, another variety of transferring data is going to be using the lookup tables. Lookup table means what? We create a table in the program and automatically without using increment, decrement operation, any of those increment operations, automatically the data will be checked by using the lookup table. Let us see how it is normally going to be done. So this for lookup tables, we normally going to use movec instruction. Movec loads the accumulator with a byte from code memory or say program memory. So movec is related to the code memory data transfer instructions. So the address of the byte fetched is the sum of the original unsigned accumulator 8-bit contents and the content of 16-bit register pointed by DPTR or a program count. Now let us see how this instruction is used using DPTR and program counter, same as the previous program we did just now. So it's going to be at the rate a plus DPTR is used. That means the address of the byte fetched, the address of the byte fetched is the sum of the original unsigned 8-bit accumulator contents and the contents of 16-bit register. That means this contents of this 8-bit register is simply taken as the offset address for us. In the later case, PC is incremented to the address of the following instruction before being added to the accumulator. So same thing is done with the PC and this. So this addition is supported here. In case you want to use this accumulator as the offset address, you can use this as the offset address where these two can be simply added together and we can just simply move on to the appropriate locations. Because DPTR, PC are going to be called as a base address. So base address cannot be changed. By increasing the value of this accumulator or any other register or a counter, so we can simply move one byte after the other byte in terms of fetching the uh, every byte from the memory locations. So these types of instructions can be used in reading data from the lookup tables. So let us try to see the lookup tables. So if you use lookup tables, what is important is that the DPTR or PC should be initialized to the beginning of the lookup table. That is important. And the index number of the desired entry is loaded into the accumulator. So it should be initialized. The DPTR or PC should be initialized whenever you normally going to use such a lookup table. So let us see a program using lookup table. So the program is something like write a subroutine called square to compute square of an all integers between 0 and square of an integers between 0 and 9. So using lookup table is the point of discussion here, which is important for us, because ordinary program using the square method, you can use any kind of instructions to really write your program. This is not our concern. This is the most important concern. See, what is the main program? Say this is the main program. Move a comma has 6 is the main program which we can think of. So we are initializing with a with 6 now. So what happens here is call to the program or a subroutine called square. Control goes to the square. Increment a. So anyway 0 is going to be 0. So increment a means what? A becomes equal to a will be the contents of accumulator a is simply been incremented, and this is used as an offset for us. That means earlier it is 6, incremented becomes 7. So 7 plus contents of PC. Now PC is always fixed. So imagine that this table contents are stored from a PC location. Okay, so that means PC plus 1. We are normally started PC plus 0 is 0, PC plus 1 is 1. So that means from 1 we have to read. So here what happens is this instruction is executed. By doing so, what happens? These contents have been simply fetched into the accumulator A. Okay, and it is simply stored in the accumulator. Then say return. Control returns back to the main program. Once again, same function is been called. Call This program will be simply being continued until it will really trace out all the contents of the lookup table. So this is what the extra instructions that it is being that the control itself is writing on our behalf. So here the pointing index, the last value, until the last value, it is simply going. So after reaching the last value, what happens? There is no data available, so therefore the control comes out of the concept. So this is how we normally going to implement this using the lookup table. Using ordinary program is what? Simply control goes to the square and performs the task, returns back to the calling program. So like this, the control is simply moving continuously. The next instruction is going to be the Boolean instructions. Boolean instructions are simply going to be called as set the register B, set bit, set bit. Set B stands for set bit. So we're going to set the bits addressed by P1.7. If I use, what happens now? This P1.7 bit is simply made equal to 1. That is how we normally going to execute this. Now these Boolean instructions are normally been contain this 807 contains a complete Boolean processor for the single bit operations. Such that we can use this kind of operations. If we use clear P1.7, that means P1.7 bit is cleared. If I want to set that bit, I can set that bit. That means I have to store, if by saying this set B P1.7, what is the meaning of this set bit P1.7? So P1 is nothing but port 1. Port 1 seventh bit will be made equal to 1. Similarly, port 1 seventh bit will be made equal to 0 by clearing this. Like this, we can use this. Similarly, I can clear the carry flag. I can clear the carry flag by using two instructions, C and CY. So C is going to clear for only 1 byte. CY is going to CY is going to be 2 byte instructions. Okay. So this is how we normally going to have this instructions, bitwise instructions. So other bitwise instructions I can perform, like I can mingle them with the logical operations, data transfer operations, jump instructions as well. How can we use this? See, let us take a program, compute logical AND of the input signals on bits 0 and 1. Bit 0 and 1 has to be performed with logical AND operation, and the output result is normally stored to bit 2 of port 1. Bit 2 of port 1 result has to be stored, and this has to be continued continuously. So in that case, how we write this program now? First of all, move P1.0 to C. What's happening here? Whatever may be the contents of this port 1 bit is simply moved to the register C. Then we are performing AND operation with the contents of next bit in the port 1, that is P1.1, with the C register. Result is once again stored in the C register. And next, what I am doing now, I am performing AND operation between these two. Result should be stored in the P1.2. I am storing the result in the P1.2. That means P1.2 is going to be output port, and P1.1, P1. P1.1, P1.0, P1.1 could be the input ports. This we can make as output. So thereby, say for example, blinking the LED. If these two are 1, I have to blink the LED. If these two bits like P1.0, P1.1, if either one of these two are zeros, then don't blink the LED. So if that is the program that we are normally implementing, so you can simply implement that kind of a program. And it is going to be a short jump instruction. Okay, where short jump is normally used only for small memory locations. Now, there are different types of branching instructions called in the exam is going to ask us for 2 marks or 3 marks about write a short notes on the branching instructions. There are 3 versions of jump instructions or branching instructions known as S jump, L jump, A jump. So as the name indicates, S jump is called small jump, L jump means long jump, A jump means what? Absolute jump. So these are the simple names which we can have. So SJump means what? As the name indicates, small jump instruction specifies destination address as a relative offset. So just now we used sjump instruction with relative offset as loop. So this instruction is a 2 byte instruction and jump distance is limited to only 2 power 8, that is minus 128 plus 127 locations. Now what about ljump specifies destination address as a 16-bit constant. That means ljump is normally meant to jump in a locations ranging of a 16 bit address. 16 bit means for 2 power 16 means 64k memory locations are going to be there. So the destination address can be anywhere in the 64k program memory space. Then absolute jump specifies destination address as a 11-bit constant. 11-bit constant means for 2 power 11, it's going to be around 2k block of the absolute jump instructions. So in all the above cases, programmer specifies the destination address to the assembler and the assembler puts destination address into the correct format. So here the destination address has to be mentioned by the programmer. That is what important concern for us to understand this. Then similarly, I can go with the subroutines like call instruction. Now there are two types of call instructions, same as the previous one, two kinds of subroutines. A call, L call. So A call, L call are going to be two instructions. L call is for long call, A is going to be absolute call. So that means L call can simply go to the memory locations pointed by 16-bit address lines. That's why 043A I can write. Okay. A call is going to be for the small memory addresses. And subroutines should compulsory end with a return instruction. Okay, this is an important concept for us here. So return pops the last 2 bytes of the stack and places them in the program. So that means the program counter, stack pointer register, okay, will be going with so many handshakings whenever a subroutine is been called from the main program. So jumping in and jumping out of a subroutine any other way usually that means it is jumping in jumping out is simply going to use the stack pointer compulsorily, right? Even the explicitly stack pointer is not mentioned, but it is normally at the background stack pointer is being used. That is what it is giving to us. Then there are so many conditional jump instructions like jump on zero, jump on no zero, decrement the register, and then jump on no zero based on the value of the register. Then compare the two registers contents or two operands, jump if not equal. So like that we can just use these jump instructions. Right? So these are all the various types of the control jump instructions. So with this we are done with the little programming on the 8051 microcontrollers. So next session we go with other topics in the syllabus. Thank you very much for the today's session.